You stupid fool. Did you really think you gonna hit me? Huh? Bam, bam, bam. Over.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So congratulations to ERISLANDY LARA. He gets another knockout win, knocking out YURI Foreman in the 4th round with a vicious left uppercut. I think it was a right jab, left uppercut combination that closed the show. He made very easy work of YURI Foreman, and then he did something that fighters on the coincidental list are almost forbidden to do, and that is call out fighters on the hope list. So he pissed off a whole lot of decals by calling out GOLOVKIN and Canelo Alvarez after the fight. You know, it's really a shame when you could just sense the disappointment inside of the decals. I'm talking about from boxing fans to media members. You can just read their articles. You can listen to how the decals post comments, their reaction comments in the comment section, and you can sense how disappointed they are, how upset they are that ERISLANDY LARA continues to win. Therefore, he's able to continue calling out Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez, etc., etc. And the reason why it upsets them, because they know that it's getting to the point to where you can no longer really defend Golovkin for not fighting ERISLANDY LARA if he keeps calling out ERISLANDY LARA. You can't use the excuse, Lara doesn't want to go up to middleweight first. Because Kell Brook, he didn't have to go to middleweight first before he got to fight Golovkin. Kell Brook jumped straight from welterweight to middleweight to fight Gennady Golovkin. So you can't use that excuse, right? You can't use the excuse, it's a promotional beef for the networks, etc., because Golovkin's trainer and his people alone, they're not even using that excuse. When I talk to Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, he just flat out tells me, nobody wants to watch that fight. He doesn't use any network excuses or anything like that. You can't use the quote-unquote boring excuse either, because we all know that Golovkin had no problem getting in the ring with Willie Monroe. And I'm not trying to say Willie Monroe is a boring fighter, but I'm saying this is what a decaf would say about Lara's style. And guess what? Lara's style is very analogous to Willie Monroe's style. They're both southpaws. They both move around the ring. The only difference is ERISLANDY LARA has much more power. He has way more knockouts than Willie Monroe. And he's been in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, a fighter that a lot of people believe he actually beat. That is the only difference from ERISLANDY LARA and Willie Monroe. So there aren't any more excuses you can use for why Golovkin doesn't want to fight ERISLANDY LARA. You can't really use the excuse that ERISLANDY LARA, he never called up Golovkin and actually offered a fight, etc., because even Abel Sanchez, I asked him the question. The majority of opponents that Golovkin fights, they pick out these guys. These guys don't call up Golovkin and say, hey, I want to fight and I want this amount of money, etc., etc. The B side never does that, or at least 90% of the time they don't do that. Do you think Marco Antonio Rubio, Adama, Willie Monroe, do you think these fighters called up Golovkin and said, hey, I want to fight you and this is the offer? They didn't do that. Golovkin chose those opponents by Team Golovkin's own admission. So you can't use that excuse, Lara never called them up and he never offered a fight. He never said, I want this amount of money and I want to fight you on this day. B-side fighters don't make demands, and they certainly don't initiate making demands. Don't get me wrong. Now, of course, if Golovkin calls up Willie Monroe and Golovkin says, hey, we want to fight you in December and we're going to give you $100,000. Now, of course, at that point, you may get Willie Monroe that'll say, no, you know what? I'll only fight for $200,000. That's a different situation and that's more understandable. But one more time, you don't really have too many of Golovkin's opponents calling up Team Golovkin and saying, we want to fight you and we want $500,000. We want part of the pay-per-view or whatever the case may be. That doesn't happen too often. So you can't use that as an excuse for why Golovkin is not fighting ERISLANDY LARA. Okay? Remember, Golovkin has been calling out Canelo for the last 2 years, and Canelo was never calling up Golovkin asking for a fight. But yet that did not deter Golovkin from pursuing a Canelo fight, did it? When he was calling out Floyd Mayweather, when he was calling out Carl Froch, none of these fighters had to call up Golovkin and make an offer. So why do you say, hey, Lara never called up and made an offer? He never made a real offer. Doesn't make sense. And just keep in mind, guys, these are not excuses that Golovkin or Team Golovkin are even making. These are excuses that Golovkin fans are making up for Golovkin. That tells you everything you need to know right there. Because whenever you have fans making up things that the fighter and the team themselves are not even saying, that tells you how emotionally attached they are. And it tells you that it's not true when they make these excuses. So, my point is simply this. Golovkin versus ERISLANDY LARA would be a great fight. And it doesn't matter who you think will win, right? It doesn't matter who you think will win. We still want to see the fight. When Golovkin fought Willie Monroe, we all knew that Golovkin was going to beat Willie Monroe. But that didn't stop people from filling up the arena at the Forum in Inglewood, California. That didn't stop people from tuning in on HBO and watching the fight. So that's not an excuse either. He shouldn't fight him because we know he's going to win. If that's the case, then he wouldn't have to fight anybody, because you could just say, I think he'll beat that guy, so no reason to fight him. So, at the end of the day, Golovkin versus ERISLANDY LARA, that's a fight that needs to happen. That's a step up in competition for Gennady Golovkin. I mean, the fact that Lara has a disputed win or loss against Canelo Alvarez, if Golovkin were to get in there with ERISLANDY LARA, and let's just say hypothetically he could knock out Lara, that would definitely be impressive, to do something to ERISLANDY LARA that nobody has ever done, and that is knock him out cold, right? So, that's pretty much how I see this. Once again, Lara, he continues to win, and fans and members of the media, they continue to pray that Lara loses so they can say, see, that's the reason why Golovkin didn't have to fight him, because he wasn't worthy, and et cetera, et cetera. If Golovkin stays at the middleweight division and he's not fighting against a Chris Eubank next, or Kurzitse, who's one of the #1 contenders, there would be no reason for him not to fight ERISLANDY LARA if he gets past Danny Jacobs. So we'll see what happens. Once again, congratulations to Lara. Another W. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hi, you're watching DONTAE'S Boxing Nation. Woo!